Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me, whenever time of day it is that you're joining me. It's been several downloads coming in, and now that we got the Divine Masculine channel message out of the way, this is the other one that's been following me around much of the day. And I find it extra fitting because I'm pretty sure, isn't it like Passover or something? Not Passover, but there's something Moses like about this time. Um, or it could just be lined up with that time. But there, so we have Venus and Capricorn coming up, and I've been reading up on it more. I find it fascinating, especially because my Venus, my natal placement is in Capricorn, and like I've already been thinking a lot about that, and like, because I mean, Venus and Capricorn, we're like swans. Like once we find our mate, we know who they are. Like you, it just it's not one of it's not like everybody else to where it's like it could change based on like what other people think or like being with different partners or things like that. Like no, once you know, you know. But I also like to think about the energies. That's funny. Somebody else's car. Squeal, squeal, squeal. Right. You know what that reminds me of is like the squeaky wheel. And I bet you that's going to be a theme going on with it because one of the main things that I've been seeing is that we're going to have 40 days and 40 nights of Venus in Capricorn. And the reason for that is because Venus does not go retrograde very often. And so it's a little extra significant when it does. And so we got Venus going into Capricorn too soon, and then it will go retrograde and it will come out, and it'll be about 4 months worth of time. So it'll be late January. Or not late, what is it? No, excuse me, not 4 months. Like I said, 40 days. So, like, it'll be approximately late January, I believe, or early February when we're like exiting the post shadow of Venus retrograde. And so Venus in Capricorn is a very stable place for Venus to be in. And it's very much coming up a lot with the themes of like Demeter and Persephone and Hades, especially because Venus is also doing an interesting dance of several different aspects with Pluto, who is Hades, right? So it's kind of a mixture of like Persephone and Hades doing their dance while also like interacting with Demeter as Mother Nature, who like, I mean, she was so upset by Hades taking, what she saw as taking her daughter, not that like she saw Persephone as being able to be in love with him and stuff. But like she got so upset that she like put the whole world into like an ice age. You know what I mean? Like, and who knows? Maybe that was the actual ice age. You never know. Or one of them. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been Demeter. You never know. Be respectful, because I mean it could be true. But it also feels like it's a different sort of dance between like Demeter and Hades too. Either way, it's definitely this energy of like Capricorn oftentimes gets a rap for being cold, though it's really not that. It's like, we ain't got no time for people that are emotionally insecure. And Venus in Capricorn is a very emotionally secure placement. And like we are warm and gregarious and fun and all sorts of places for the people that we don't have to take care of. Like nurturing, yeah, oh yeah, yes please. But like having to like hold somebody's hand through everything, no, absolutely not. And so that's kind of the same energy that you see with when Venus goes into Capricorn for everybody when it transits. And it's like we're going to see the light and the shadow side of both of that, because especially Venus in Capricorn retrograde, like there's definitely a look at like the relationships, not just as in like an interpersonal relationship, but how relationships affect us status wise. So like anybody that's been in like an entanglement that it's not been going well and has like affected them on various different social levels, like think about like if you got a toxic dynamic, whether it's like romantic or platonic or familial or anything like that, that shit typically like really affects everything else that you interact with. Like where it affects you when you go to work, it affects you when you go to be with your friends or your family and things like that. Like, it really creates a big social imprint on things. And so Pluto, the great dissolver, right? And change maker and transformer. I mean, this is also, Loki kind of energy too, is very much coming in to point that stuff out, right? And if you've done enough of your shadow work that you're no longer codependent to that kind of stuff, you've likely released a lot of that. Probably already feeling, the dance between Hades and Venus, or Pluto and Venus, right? And if you've done that, then you know, you've already learned a lesson. Let's put it that way. You're not bound by those ties anymore. Though there's a lot of people that have not yet got there. And so they're going to be feeling a lot more of that shadow essence of like how heavy it feels when like you're that mountain goat, not just trying to get yourself to the top of the mountain, but you got these 20 MFers, behind you, attached to a harness going, why are we going so slow? You know what I mean? Like, are we there yet? And it's time to like get out of that harness, like chew that sucker off. Be like, y'all walk your own way up the mountain. You know what I mean? And it's it's definitely looking at like the social architecture of things, like not necessarily who controls the narrative, but what is the narrative being painted by, you know, the social hierarchies, the communities. Like Capricorn, because it's ruled by Saturn, very much has to do with power, though it's not always like a lot of people assume that power is taken. No, like you can try to take power, but power is much like many other energies, like love or um, wealth, self worth, things like that. Like the more you try to grasp onto them, the faster you like basically squeeze them out of your hands. It's like trying to hold on to sand. Like you might be able to keep a very tiny amount in your hand if you grasp it hard enough, but really you can hold a lot more sand in your hand if you're not grasping it. And when you're comfortable with it flowing out of your hand, with scooping it up more when you want more and letting it, like you enjoy that stuff, like it's a lot more pleasurable. And because it's Venus and it deals with a lot of emotional stuff, and because we're seeing some of the aspects going on with the seventh house, this is really going to take a look at like intimate relationships, the not just like it's not the eighth house stuff, it's not Scorpio stuff, it's not the bedroom necessarily. Like you can have a relationship where you have great like physical chemistry and lust and stuff, but it's not enough. It's not. And so this is more, I consider the seventh house, which is connected to Libra, to be more like the bathroom. Because think about it, like if you have somebody that you feel comfortable going to the bathroom in front of, not that like anybody necessarily wants to do that, but if you don't feel embarrassed, you feel comfortable with that sort of thing. If it's somebody that you would share a toothbrush with, even though it's still fairly, it's better sight, it's better hygiene to not do so. But if you feel like you could trust what was in that person's mouth enough that you would share it, like that's intimacy. You know what I mean? And not just intimacy of like seeing somebody like physically naked, but seeing somebody vulnerable. And so we're going to see a lot of situations too where vulnerability is an energy, but like a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable. And those people are really going to see the shadow sides of this, like 40 days and 40 nights of vulnerability, right? And if you're comfortable being, you're comfortable with vulnerability, then you're actually going to find an extra strength from that. If you are afraid of vulnerability, then it's likely that there's going to be a few more shadow storms for you. And like I said, like if you're at a place where you've done enough alchemy and enough shadow work that you're not attached to the place, the person, the outcome, things like that, you're going to be able to flow wherever it is that spirit says, look, this is going to be better, or go that way, or do this. And like when chaotic things happen, you're able to stop and like say, you know what is the lesson in this moment? And how is this helping me get to where I did want to go? Like, this is just a delay for a moment so that I can pivot because I wasn't seeing how to get to the next space that I wanted to go to, stuff like that. And if you're able to do that, then you're not going to be locked in to any particular thing. Like anybody in this, let's put it this way, Venus in Capricorn, when it's direct, it does like control. It doesn't need control, but it likes control. And like in the shadow side, yeah, like there's control issues. Though Venus in Capricorn retrograde, like if you've got any issues with control, they are going to be challenged right now. 40 days and 40 nights of the challenge of that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this soon because I don't have much battery life on my phone and because I feel like it. But what I wanted to say though is what I put in the title. So 40 days and 40 nights, the well refills. And there's been a lot of energy over the past like 22 months. Especially, I want to say, starting like 4 or 5 months ago, of like people letting the well run dry. Of like becoming like emotionally constipated, emotionally numb, like comfortably numb, stuff like that. And to some degree, that was necessary for learning, for evolving, things like that. Though now the well refills. I already did some. Hello, peace and love. I love the details you threw in there. Um, so as the well refills, it's like one of those like spirits bringing in various specific situations and things, various stuff from the past to challenge those who have been in spaces of being emotionally numb. Like, if you've been working on getting more in touch with your emotions in healthy ways and stuff like that, you're going to be comfortable in this. You might not notice a lot, like, even if you're in a similar timeline as me and, like, you're definitely between homelessness and housing and all the different stuff. Like, it's not that you won't have stuff going on around you, but you're not going to be, like, sunken by it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll keep picking up the hints from spirit. You'll keep moving with it. You'll have your emotions through each thing as it happens, like family and friends and things like that. And like I said, if you're comfortable releasing whatever dynamics, no matter what origin they came from, when they are not respectful to yourself, and when you're not being authentic, then you're gonna be able to move through just fine. Though you're probably like, I don't know, like if you're in a comfortable place, you're really not gonna notice a lot of the stuff going on. Like spirit's not gonna line you up with it. You'll line up with, you know, the people that you want to when they're able to line up with you, when they are able to come up to you. And so you just keep doing you. Like no matter what's going on around you, whether you get pulled in, whether you find yourself in a brief dark night of soul, whatever it is, just keep getting back to gratitude and keep looking for how you can achieve a state within yourself where you're comfortable no matter what your life looks like, especially emotionally. Like, and don't attach like happiness to having to be in relationship or having a certain status of things. Like, Capricorn is the sign, like, we're ruled by Big Daddy Saturn. Like, you don't get power by taking power. You get power by being in a space where you recognize that you can handle it. You deserve it, but you don't necessarily want it. And to where you're not going to abuse it. And that requires going slow and steady at first. Like no matter how much your britches might be itching to like get going fast, sometimes you gotta slow down and look at the bigger picture. And other times you gotta let the bigger picture go and slow down and say, what's the next right thing I can do? Like right now. Is it a breath? Is it a step? Is it a smile? Is it texting somebody? You know what I mean? What's the next thing? You got to be able to go between both and do those sort of things. That's the sort of thing that helps lift others up too. So, like, you make sure that you do you. Go for authenticity. Don't worry about, like, if there's something that you wanted and it's not going the way that you wanted, one, release your need to control the outcome or to get any specific thing or be in a specific place or be with a specific person or to feel a certain way all the time. And then get to a space to where, like, you also know that everything that you want is coming. Like, there just might be a scenic detour, and what's wrong with that? You might get some cool adventures along the way, you know what I mean? Alright, y'all, like I said, my phone battery's kind of getting down, so thank you for those of you who came into the chat, and I will catch you in the next video.